Hey everybody, how you doing? And welcome today to this conversation. Truly, if you're a person that feels like, I be giving my best or I'm trying my hardest, but sometimes I feel like I'm not being able to give my best in all areas of my life. And I believe through this conversation today, I have someone on that I believe is going to give us some great insight on how to, I'll say it this way, knock things out the park. You'll understand that in a minute. And I want to make sure that you join me, grab your friends, grab your family, make sure that you're a part of this conversation because this conversation is going to help us all make sure that we're living a purpose-driven life. Come on, let's jump in. Hello and welcome to the Focus on Greatness podcast. My name is Hiram, and on this platform, we highlight ways where men can be able to experience greatness in their everyday lives. And today, I believe that we are going to learn some very great lessons through just this great conversation that I'm going to have with this guest that I have. And in this conversation, I believe that we're going to learn to make sure or how we can have purpose-driven life, how we can make sure that not only sometimes when we think about purpose, we're looking at only, in our jobs or we're looking at only things that we can do for our community. But I believe that when we're talking about effective purpose and having a purpose-driven life, that deals with your families, that deals with your finance, that deals with all areas of your life. So I brought someone on, I have someone on that wrote this beautiful, powerful book called The Truest Fan. I want to make sure that you get this conversation, not only hear what we're talking about, but get a chance to read this book, because in this book, he's going to be able to lay out some things on how all of us can make sure that we have a purpose-driven life and become the truest and the best friend. So can we do this for me? If you're driving in your car, listening to this, I know people listen to podcasts when they're at the gym, they're taking walks, they're walking their dogs, they listen, whatever different forms of ways that you're listening to. I want to make sure that you continue these conversations with me. So before we dive in, make sure that you are subscribed on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, and the other different major platforms that are out there. You can continue these conversations while you're doing all of that. And so while you're listening, while you're subscribing, and while you're doing all that, make sure right now, I want you to do me a favor, put your hands together for me. If you're driving, I know you can't take your hands off the steering wheel. Just tap the top of the steering wheel just to let me know that you're listening. And welcome my guest on today, Rob Brown. How you doing, sir?
I am doing great, man. What energy you bring! I was already pumped up to talk to you. Now I'm even more pumped up.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for taking out some time and being a part of this conversation on today. I do believe that this is going to be a very effective convo. And I can't wait to dive into this conversation. So before we do that, do me a favor and kind of introduce yourself to those that are listening, the listening audience that probably don't know you, or those that do, so they can be reminded of who you are.
Sure. So as you said, my name is Rob Brown. I am a father of triplet daughters with my wife, Lori. We've been married for 34 years, I think it is. I always get the number wrong. I probably did the math wrong. But anyway, for a long time. So we have a great partnership with 3 great daughters. I am a business performance coach and a personal performance coach, and I'm an author. So as you mentioned, I recently wrote the book, Truest Fan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. So I want to ask this question just to kind of start off. One, just from kind of doing a little bit of history on you and reading a little bit about yourself, I know that you are a baseball fan, and but I really want to kind of get an idea of you as a person and where we kind of came up with these steps and these things that you're writing about, even in your book, of how to really be a purpose-driven person. Where did that kind of come from within you?
Well, it comes from a couple of different places.
Hmm.
First of all, it comes from God. I think that when I try to wrap it all together, I know
Hmm.
that my purpose is to live in a way that God intends for me to live and to show God through the things that I do. So I think
Hmm.
that's where it starts.
Yeah.
But also because I am a father and I'm a business coach,
Hmm.
I get to talk to people about achieving purpose and impact
Hmm.
in their lives. And having done this for many years, these lessons have really resonated and come together. So I like to think that the things that I teach and share are probably not unique.
Hmm.
When we get a chance to talk about them, I think you'll
Right.
agree, or the audience will agree, but they resonate because they're the timeless things that happen over and over again that we want to instill in ourselves, remind ourselves, so that we can be better. So it's the things that I've learned from the people that I interact with. I think that's the
Hmm.
other place they come from.
Okay. All right. So I know that, again, reading your storyline, I know you started off in finance,
Mhm.
and then you kind of shifted over to, like you said, now being more of a coach. What made you shift over to doing what you're doing now?
The big thing was in the work that I was doing in my career as an executive. When I started out as a financial advisor, financial planner, kind of grew
Hmm.
into an executive role. But in that executive role, I was saying grace over 250 other advisors, and I
Mm.
found I just loved coaching them and building them up and finding better ways for them to live more purposefully, to be more intentional about the way they were growing their businesses. So that was kind of a transition for
Mm.
me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now, in your book, you talk about, or basically the layout is you talk about 7 characteristics that you kind of break down in helping us to be able to be, I guess, you live this purpose-filled life and making sure that we are, as I love this thought process, hitting it out the park in every area of our lives. So, what is these 7 characteristics that we have to be able to walk in or have?
Right. Well, yeah. So the seven lessons or seven characteristics you call them are number one, you need to be a truest fan. You
Mhm.
need to be your own truest fan. That you have
Mm.
to believe in yourself. So that's where I believe that it needs to start.
Right.
Secondly, I think it's important if you're really going to knock it out of the park. I love that expression. You've got to make sure that you put your most important work first, whether it's your work at
Mhm.
work, your work at home, your work in the causes that you care about. You've got to think about what's the most important thing that you can be working on. So putting your most important work first.
Mhm.
The third lesson is to love one another because
Mhm.
no matter whether you win or lose, it's really how you play the game. And I think
Yeah.
love is a big, big part
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, it is.
Um, Lesson four or characteristic four is smiles and kind words
Mm.
go a long way. Sometimes
Yeah,
we
they
think
do.
like we can't have impact. Yes, you can. Just like you did to start this podcast, you brought the energy, you brought the smile, you said some good things that really get people fired up. So I think that's a great way to live with purpose and impact, even when you
Yeah.
think that you can't.
Yeah.
The fifth lesson is your family deserves your very best. You need to be your family's
Mhm.
truest fan. Um, Lesson six is God is your truest fan. We have to remember that
Mm.
He's up there rooting us on
Yeah.
every single day. And then the final lesson is intentionally live the life you were born or intended to live. So be intentional about it. Don't just take your life and your purpose for granted.
Right. Right. I love that. I love that. I want to start and look at, I think, because sometimes we lean on really the last one that you talk about. Surely when we're talking about purpose, we lean on that last one a lot. But the first one for me, I think, is also as important. All of those 7 lessons and characteristics are vitally important, I believe. But the first one I love, and I want to kind of ask, really, even with you, when we talk about number one, is believing in yourself. Um, where did that start with you? Because I know with me, I'll say for me, it took me a while. It took me a while. Even just I was raised by a single parent, all the way until I was 15 years old. My mom raised me, and so there was a lot of different things as a single, only child type thing, and a lot of different struggles that I went in. So it was hard for me as I got older to believe in myself in certain areas of things that I wanted to do, even when it came to this podcast, being very honest. But I had to get to a point where I started to believe in me for me to be effective. So when did that kind of start for you?
I think it's ebbed and flowed throughout my life. If I said
Mm,
that I have believed in myself, from the day that I turned X age, and I've been that
right.
way ever since, I'd be lying. There are actually some things going on in my life right now that are a little
Mhm.
bit out of my control that cause me every once in a while to just go, Rob, you still you still there? Do you still believe
Right.
what you believe in? So I think it ebbs and flows. Um, but I think maybe if I was trying to pinpoint, um, something in particular, it would probably be through being a father. Because
Mm,
as I became a father, and as I mentioned, I have triplet daughters, so
yeah.
that's a little bit of a different. That's a unique way to be introduced to fatherhood.
Yeah.
That responsibility really kind of caused me to stop and think. If
Mm,
I'm going to do this and do this right, I've got to get myself right. I've got to be the best father that I can be, and believe that I can be
yeah.
a great father. And I
Yeah.
think that's one of those cases. But it's happened in business and other things too, where you just have um, those moments where you tell yourself, this is a case where I really have um, to just believe in myself. Just trust that you know what you're doing, and do it in a way that lets you shine.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about, even as you were talking, when I thought about the context of just believing in yourself, I thought about and wanted to ask, what made you write this book specifically? Like, what made you go after writing this book? And kind of like, what is the impact that you're looking, or you really wanted this book to be able to have?
Right. Well, I really believe in this concept of being a truest fan. And being a truest fan means that you are a truest fan of yourself,
Hmm.
of others, and that you're encouraging others.
Yeah.
It's a message of giving and caring and loving.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've noticed in the work that I do is there are a lot of successful people, and I work probably more with men than women. So a lot of
Hmm.
my experience is probably more with men. A lot of successful men who have great families. They're
Hmm.
they're doing some good things in their community. Their businesses or their careers are good, but they know that there's something more. They want to
Yeah.
reach some higher level. They know that word purpose is important. They think about having impact. They think that's important, and they
Hmm.
don't know how. So I wanted to give kind of a step-by-step guide for what can you do? How can you take action
Yeah.
towards delivering on your purpose, delivering on your impact, and doing that in a way that is true, that is not just for show. It
Hmm.
comes from the heart.
Yeah. So what and I think that that's great, because I think sometimes, just like you're stating, there are people, and sometimes we all get into this position where, yes, we're working, we're doing different things, even becoming successful in those things that we're doing, but it does still feel like, man, I feel like I got a lot, I got more than I'm supposed to be doing, but I don't know what that more is sometimes.
Right.
And you have those different pieces. So how does a person start to really figure out that piece, so that they can start making sure that they're walking or living in a purpose filled life?
Right. Well, I think it starts by making sure that you have a big dream. I think, and,
Mm,
and, and sometimes that is the greatest obstacle, because we dream a lot, but then when we
Right.
start to really dream and think about those things that we'd like to achieve, we'd like to have happen in our lives, the way that we like to
Hmm.
affect and influence other people, we tell ourselves, no, I can't do that, so
Right.
you discount your dreams, but you have to start with your dreams. You have to dream big. You have to have a picture of what success will look like out into the future,
Hmm.
and visualize that and kind of hold that close to you all the time. So that way, when you're going about life and you're making decisions, you can ask yourself, hey, is this going to help me get to that big dream? Is
Yeah.
that just going to help me achieve the success that I want? And if it is, maybe you double down, do more of it. But if it's not, you say, I don't, if that sounds like a cool thing to do, but I don't have to do that, because that's not taking me towards where I want to be. So I think you've
Mm.
got to start with the dream and believe that you can accomplish that dream, even if you don't know the exact steps.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Dream. Have a big dream. My one of the things my mentor told me to do. He said, Hiram, I want you to have a vision, but I want you to have a vision so large that you won't be able to do all of it yourself. You might not even be able to accomplish it in your lifetime. That might be a vision or a dream that's big enough that it fits for your family or things of that nature. And then, like you said, just start moving towards it. You might not know how every step looks, and it might be on the job training, literally, but continue to go. And I'm guessing that also goes back to that concept of, even though you're dreaming big, you have to start believing in yourself,
Right.
believing that you can be able to accomplish and go after these dreams.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case, because if you're dreaming somebody else's dream, that's hard to believe in yourself. But I think
Yeah.
when you believe in yourself and you've got the big dream, and they connect, then that's one of the steps, or some of the momentum that really gets you working towards that dream. And and
Mhm.
and when you're dreaming, you're not planning. There's a difference between dreaming and planning. There's a difference
Mm.
between dreaming and strategy and tactics. Dreaming
Right.
is, the unbelievable, saying that you want to accomplish things that you may never think is possible.
Hmm.
And as you said, maybe you think, well, maybe that won't even happen in my lifetime, but maybe it will, and maybe it'll
Right.
happen in a way that surprises you, because you'll meet somebody that helps you accomplish your dream, more quickly.
Yeah.
It's such an important process, or I'm sorry, process
Yeah.
for getting started.
Yeah. And I think that that's great, because for those that are listening, those that are watching, the reality sometimes is we just don't know what that first step looks like. We don't know what that first step is. And so when we are trying to figure out or find, what is that thing that I'm supposed to be doing? What is this per se gap that I feel like I'm having, that I haven't filled yet? Sometimes we have to do, like Rob is saying, we have to first, let's just dream. Let's not plan. Let's not schedule anything. Let's not try to create a whole bunch of to-do lists and things of that nature. Let's just dream and start believing in the context that I can actually achieve that dream. And then we can start this process and the first steps of going after having a purpose driven life. And so I'm loving that. I really love it. What would you say after they have dreamed and start moving in it? What would you say that they should be able to do, like as a next step or a next move for their lives?
Yeah, and that's where the important work step comes in. Is kind of then begin to start figuring out what are the steps that are going to get you towards that dream, or what are some goals that are maybe subsets of that dream.
Mhm.
So like this time of year, I go out and meet with a number of my clients to help them do some year ahead planning. And what's really fun in that is we can reflect on the dreams that they've had, talk about how they have worked towards it in
Mhm.
the past year since we've been together and talked about it as a team.
Mhm.
And then we can start strategizing on how do we implement that as a plan for next year, and then how do we break that down into the first quarter of next year, and most importantly, how do you break that down and make sure that you're doing something every day that is helping
Mhm.
you work towards that big dream and towards those goals. So you have to break it down and think about what's the most important thing to do. Because you don't have to do everything, but you could do
Right.
one thing every day that keeps you on that track, that helps you feel that momentum, helps keep that dream alive.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. So I want everybody to hear some very, I would say, some great nuggets that he just dropped. One of the things that you just shared was not just in reference to just the aspect of planning, but you gave it a time frame. So in the month of November, you said every in the month of November normally is your season or your time frame of when you start planning with your clients for the next year. You plan for the next year, but then you backtrack and say, okay, what do we need to be doing quarterly? What do we need to be doing here? And let's get down to the nitty. What do you need to be doing at least one thing a day? I think we all need to hear that because sometimes we get so overwhelmed with the dream and probably all the things that we think will come with that, all the goals or the steps, and we can kind of get overwhelmed. But understanding that if you do at least one thing a day, you're getting closer and closer to accomplishing that goal or getting closer to that dream. So I'm grateful that you took the time to be able to share that piece because sometimes we can miss it. Now, funny part is also this is around the time that my mentor does the same thing with me. Okay, what are we looking at financially for next year? What are we doing? What's your goals for next year? Getting in the mindset of preparing yourself for what you want to achieve on the next year. So I'm loving this. I'm loving
Yeah.
this.
No, I think it's really important. And the only thing I'd add to that daily piece is sometimes that one thing you do that one day, you do it many days in a row.
Mm,
It's or it's something that's recurring that you do every week.
right,
So you don't want to get tripped up thinking I've got to do one thing towards my big goals or my big dreams, and
right,
it's got to be different every day. Sometimes it's the same every day. It's a routine that you're getting, and maybe you're running a business, and sales are a big part of what you do. And to get your sales started, you have to have a certain number of contacts with the right people, and
mm,
so that one big thing might
right,
be making those or that one thing for that one day. It might be making some calls or talking to some people, or whatever that might be.
right, right. I love that. I love that. I love that. So when people have done, I would just say like these first couple steps, have you seen through your own personal time frame of reference to with coaching, have you seen the impact or the change in that person's life as they're making these adjustments based upon the teaching and things that you do throughout this book?
Yeah, because what happens when you have the dreams and you start to think about how to put your most important things first, you get
Hmm.
quick wins. Little things, you make that little change or do that one thing, and you get a win, and you're like,
Right.
wow, now I get why I'm doing that. So you see impact. So it might be, because you have decided what the most important things are, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you're not doing. You're not
Yeah.
a slave to your email inbox, and all of a sudden you
Right.
get hours back in your days and your weeks. Um, so you feel less stress. You feel like you had greater control of your time, and
Mm,
so and sometimes in like again, a lot of my clients or all my clients are have a business.
mhm.
So sometimes you find business opportunities that were just lying underneath the surface because
Wow.
you stop to think about it. So, but most of the time, I think where you see it first is just you feel less stress, like you have greater control over your priorities, and you're not responding to other people's priorities.
Yeah. No, I love that. The question that came to my mind while you were talking is how have you helped or even with your own self because a lot of what it sounds like we're also talking about is really having focus,
Mhm.
being able to focus in on these different areas of our lives. So how have you been able to, working in the industry and the form that you work in now, but how in that busy life, because sometimes we get so busy trying to focus on our business, focus on, trying to be productive or effective in that, that sometimes we don't know how to balance when it's time to come home, because then you come home and it's like, oh, I just want to rest. I just
Right.
want to, but you're not able to be as focused as you was when you were in the office. So how do you help people to be able to balance that or stay focused in both areas or in different areas of their lives?
Well, sometimes it's really basic stuff by creating like little tools for how you respond to emails or to phone
Hmm.
calls or to the way that you do daily planning. I'm a big fan of spending at least, 15 minutes every day, either
Hmm.
planning for the next day or planning for the same day if you're starting in the morning and
Hmm.
just laying that out. And as you do that, there's a tendency to think that you can do more in a day than you can. And so I would much rather have a smaller list of more important things to accomplish than a big list of things that will never get accomplished because you can't physically do them.
Right.
And to also set parameters. These are the hours that I'm going to go to work. And then when I go home, I'm going to be there for my family, and
Yes.
I'm gonna have accomplished things in such a way during the day that I don't finish dinner and immediately go back to my tablet or my laptop, and I'm just gonna
Right.
I'm gonna be there for my wife and my kids, and
Mm.
and give them that same focus that I gave to my business and my team and my clients, during the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I asked that is because I know sometimes I can speak for me. I know sometimes with me, I'm working a regular 9 to 5, but then also then I'm trying to build, this platform of the podcast and, and all of that. And so sometimes it's like, where do I have the time to do all of these things and still be able to be a father, be a husband? Sometimes it's like, okay, trying to find those moments of where you can be able to be focused. And sometimes you feel like you might be losing out on moments or whatever because you're so focused on trying to be quote unquote the man, make sure you're building and da 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 da, that we miss these moments. And so that's why I said I wanted to ask, because I know that there's somebody else that's like that. They're coming home from their regular, working on either a second job or something else to be able to try to bring some form of extra income in, and still trying to be a father and still trying to be a husband and trying to figure out how to balance all of those things. And so I wanted to make sure I asked for that person.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great thing. And we've got this term today, we call what's your side hustle.
Right.
And I have no problem with people having side hustles or
Mhm.
passion projects things they like to do, but I
Yeah.
don't like the word hustle because it almost makes it feel like you got to rush at it. You got to squeeze it in,
Yeah. I didn't think
when it's
about
got
that.
to be something that fits, the rhythm of your life.
Mm.
Um, you know, you could decide to do a podcast, record a podcast every day, right?
Mhm.
If you wanted to, if you really
Right.
wanted to really get out there and blow up the airwaves, you could have a podcast every day. But you
Right.
have a way that you've built podcasting into your routine, and the number that you can do, so you can get out there and get your message out, but it
Hmm.
doesn't totally disrupt what you do, from 9 to 5, or it doesn't,
Yeah.
take away, every night of the week, so that you have no time to take, your wife on a date or take your kids to, the things that they enjoy doing. So I think it's important. It's um,
Hmm.
just
I
to be
like that.
really thoughtful, intentional about it, and know that there's time. There's time in the future where if you've got that big dream, things will work out. Maybe something will happen with your 9 to 5 that you know allows you to free some things up that you didn't expect.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I really like, and I'm gonna keep it for myself. Even though there's people that's listening, I think I'm gonna keep this one for myself, Rob, is finding your rhythm and fitting the things in that you want to do to your rhythm. And I never thought about that. There is a rhythm, there's a pattern, there's a pace that your life is having on a normal day to day. And you have to realize or find out, how do I fit these things in that rhythm? Just like any musical person, there's a certain rhythm that goes with that song or that melody or whatever. But if you just start throwing stuff in there, eventually it's going the music is not going to sound good at all.
Yeah.
But I think if for me, if we look at same thing, if we look at our lives in the same way, we want our lives to be a beautiful melody when people, when other our families or those that are around us, even with our own selves, we want it to be a beautiful melody that we have. So we have to make sure that we're fitting the things in the right timing, in the right pace, in the right places, so that we can still be effective in all the other areas of our lives.
Yeah, I think that's very well said.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you. I do want to ask you a question in reference to when it comes to reference to this book. I said when I looked at your book cover, and I read some information, read some things. I said I have to ask Rob, how did you take this concept of the lessons and everything? How did you merge this into your baseball world?
Yeah, I guess there's just something crazy going on in my head is the bottom line answer. Somehow I saw how it fit together. But I love the idea of teaching through
Mhm.
stories.
Mm,
And one of my great passions is being a Cleveland baseball fan. And when you're a baseball fan, it's a game without a clock.
right.
It's a game where you can pay rigorous attention to it and notice things that other people would never notice about what's happening on the field. Or you
Hmm.
can daydream and you can just be present in the game, enjoy the background and the noise and
Yeah.
crack of the bat and all that kind of
Mm,
stuff. And
wow.
I've learned a lot
Mm,
being a baseball fan.
yeah.
And why being a baseball fan has given me a lot of time to think about life and family and God, and it just all kind of collected together into this story, and
Yeah.
a story of the people that are coming together through baseball,
Hmm.
but to share with each other the importance of being truest fans of others and having others be truest fans of you. So it just came together. It was just a kind
Yeah.
of a creative, crazy process. And something that I told myself I wanted to do years and years ago. I was gonna write this style book, this fable style book,
Hmm.
and it took me 30 years to get to. So talk about rhythm and dreaming big. It just had to find its right time
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. And while you're explaining this thought process in reference to baseball, um, I'm sitting here like, wow, I never thought about it like that. I never saw even just the simplicity of just, you know, you do have a setting of time of where for baseball where you have moments where you can really dive in, you can focus in, see how different players are moving, see how movements is going, who's working stronger together. You can see the communication happening from the pitcher to the first baseman. You can see all those moments, or like you stated, you can daydream and just be enjoying the popcorn and enjoying, all the other things that's happening around you, but really not be able to enjoy the game itself. And when I think about that, I was like, now I saw how he writes the book because it's the same thing. We have to be intentional. Is we miss moments just like if a person that's in playing baseball and they're outfielder, if they're daydreaming, they're going to miss the ball. If
Right.
that because they're
Right.
not focused in on the game.
Mhm.
And so every portion and person on the field is important, but they all have to be focusing. They all have to be intentional. And I think that that's the same thing, even again, just correlating that even for me. And literally, I just thought about this as you were talking. I said, okay, I have to be intentional. I have to be focused in different places, in different placements in my life. If I'm the outfielder, if I'm the pitcher for the day, if I'm the batter, if I'm up to bat, whatever that might be, I have to make sure that I am paying attention and I can't daydream through life, because even though the clock might be ticking, I'm still losing time if I'm just wasting and daydreaming and not being focused.
Right, right. But part of the rhythm or the melody, as you said, of of life is having some time to slow down and daydream and relax, because you can't always be on duty.
Yeah.
But as you were saying that, I think I maybe am going to add something to my big dream is, now I think that I want some time in my life for what will now be the Cleveland Guardians, not the Cleveland Indians. That's the baseball team that I reference in the book, as I grew up in Cleveland. But I want them to invite me to spring training as a coach to deliver a message, even though I'm not a baseball coach. I'm a personal performance coach, or a business performance coach. But I want to be able to tell them that these are things that if they want to have their best season ever as individual players and as a team, they've got to believe in themselves. They got to do their most important work. They can't forget their family. They've got to rely on God, and they've got to be intentional, and the other things that go on, because they are lessons that apply in a lot of places. So I'm gonna add that to my dream, to someday be invited to give a talk to the baseball team in Arizona when they get together in the spring.
Well, and I can't wait to hear about it, because one of the things I do believe in reference to dreamers is a lot of times when we're dreaming, we might be moving in that direction and not even knowing it.
Right.
And so, just like you stated in reference to, it took you, some time, 30 years to get, write this book. But along the way, you were learning so many lessons. You were gathering so much information that it literally put you in the same direction of what your dreams were looking like.
Right.
And
I couldn't have written this book 30 years ago. I mean,
wow.
I would have known the lessons. I mean, they wouldn't have been unfamiliar to me if somebody said, Rob, write a book about these lessons, but they wouldn't. I would have the knowledge of them, but not the wisdom that comes from time and experience them in my lives and the way that they impact other people that I encounter. So, and I think sometimes that's something that we forget about, that we can sometimes learn things and think that we really understand it. But we don't, because we haven't lived it. We haven't risen to a point of having, some wisdom about it, and being, and having been around on this planet for 6 decades, I think that I probably accumulated a little bit of wisdom.
Well, I can tell you have. And one reason why I could say that you have is because there are people that I know that are trusting your wisdom, and they're coming to you for wisdom and for guidance to be able to help their lives to be better. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you did take the time to be able to wait, to be able to make sure that when you did actually write this book, that it was going to be effective. It was going to be, real great information that people can actually take and apply, because now you've not only known it, but then you've seen people actually live it, and you lived it yourself, and now being able to see the results of those things. So for those that are listening, those that are watching, I want you to make sure that, one, just through Rob's life, we understand and we see, yes, we all need to have a dream. But also understand that there are things that are going to take time to come to pass, and understand that every step that you're taking is getting you closer and closer to that dream. We want to make sure that, even as Rob said, we want to make sure that we dream big. I want y'all to dream humongously big. But as you're dreaming big, I want you to also do, just like he said, believe in yourself, and believe that you can accomplish these dreams that you're going after, this dream that you see. See yourself in the dream. Don't just see the items and the books or the things, but see yourself writing, see yourself, opening up stores, or whatever your dream might be. See yourself doing it, and then just start living life, enjoying life, putting plans together, putting things together, and making day-by-day steps and achievements in your own personal lives. And then, like Rob said, sometimes go sit in the dughouse and watch the game a little bit. Take a rest off your feet, and so when it's time for you to get back into action, you'll be able to continue to move forward and continue to be focused. So thank you so much. Again, I'm grateful for you coming on. I'm grateful for this conversation. For those that are listening, I want you to make sure that you grab this book. The link is going to be in the description below, and you can be able to grab this book, be able to take advantage of all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all the lessons that Rob has been able to learn and be able to put inside this book so that we all can be able to have the life that we all choose to have, which I do believe it's for the purpose, living our life on purpose. And so before we go, I do have one more question that I need to ask. I love asking this question, and it's for one of the reasons why I love is because I believe a lot of people have different definitions and answers, but it's always helpful and effective to those that are listening. So the question that I'm going to ask is, what's greatness to you?
I think greatness is pulling out that stuff you have in
Mhm.
your heart, that love, that happiness, that
Mm.
purpose, and that impact, and really believing in it yourself so much that it's easy to share with other people, that it just happens naturally. Because I think
Mm.
being
Wow.
great isn't about propping myself up. It's just having the confidence and knowing that I'm great.
Yeah.
I was made by God, so I
Yeah.
think I'm good on the greatness count, but I can make it better if I
Mm.
share it. If I share that through love and smiling and caring about other people and being their truest fan.
Yeah, I love that answer. I love that answer. One of personally, um, I do believe that greatness is really what you're stating. Greatness is serving. We're great,
Yeah.
and in our greatness is being able to serve and to help others. Not only be able to experience and see their own greatness, but also to be able to see their fullest potential of helping other people become who they're supposed to be. And so I'm thankful that you again that you chose and took some time to stop by and have a good conversation with me. Again, for those that are on, those that are listening, please make sure that you go and get this book. Make sure that you take the advantage of reading it. And then after you read it, I want you to do me a favor. After you read it, and after you have start applying these principles, I want you to take the time to say thank you. Go back, talk to Rob, let Rob know how this book has impacted you and how it's impacting your life. And then after while you're doing that, communicate with others. Allow other people to be able to see and to know the impact of these principles and these lessons that Rob is laying out in this book. So again, I say thank you, sir, for coming on. Is there anything you want to say to before you go? And we can
Well,
go from
I
there.
got to tell you that you are. I am your truest fan. I just
Oh,
absolutely
thank you,
love the
sir.
energy that you bring to this and the message that you're sharing because it is so important. And I think just building people up or providing this resource for people to be the best version of themselves or at least one little step
Mm.
is just so awesome. So
Thank
that's
you,
it.
sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. That truly means a lot. And I'm grateful for you. I cannot wait to be able to read somewhere or hear somewhere that you had the greatest opportunity to go talk to your favorite team and help them to achieve their greatness in their own
Yeah.
personal lives.
Yeah, I'm gonna go write that one down and add it to the big dream list.
Yes, sir. So everybody, thank you again for listening and being in tune today on today's conversation. Remember, we are here every first and third Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I love you all, and we will see you next time. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. And I love you all, and we will see you next time. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I pray that this conversation was impactful to you in some form of way. What I want to make sure is that not only are you hearing and learning this information, but that you're taking the time to apply something some nugget, some piece that you took from this conversation that you can say, I can apply this for my life to be better. I want you to continue to be with me, and make sure that you're with me every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I love you all, and I'll talk to you next time right here on the Focus on Greatness family. Bye-bye.